You're listening to Boss Builds, the show on Build Up where we turn stat blocks into character sheets so that you can be the boss at your D&D table. Be sure to watch the video all the way through, comment down below on how you would make today's build, and like and subscribe to keep your feed bossed up. Let's dive straight into the video. So let's go ahead and open up the stat block for the Abhorrent Overlord. As you can see on your screen, it has an armor class of 16, hit points of 136, a walking speed of 30, a flying speed of 60, and his strength is 20, his dex is 18, his constitution is 16, intelligence 15, wisdom 14, and charisma of 16. So looks like the strength is the main key to this build. After that is dex, and constitution and charisma are good. So spoiler alert, he has a little bit of spells and things like that, so we're gonna have to keep that in mind. None of his stats are actually bad, so that's pretty good. It's gonna be a little bit hard to think about that in the build up because Point Buy doesn't have that many options to be kind of consistent. But his saving throws are +7 in con and charisma, deception +7, intimidation +7, and persuasion +7. Has cold and necrotic damage resistances, immunity to poison, condition to the poison damage condition. It has 120 feet of dark vision, passive perception of 12, and it speaks abyssal, common, and infernal. So the only thing I'm really worried about is those skills and the basically the dark vision and things like that. That's the only thing I'm worried about. It has some abilities too, called innate spellcasting, where its spellcasting ability is charisma with spell save 15, and it can cast the following spells: confusion, crown of madness, and suggestion. And it has ability called insatiable greed, where the Abhorrent Overlord can sense the presence of gold within 1,000 feet of itself, and it can determine where it has the greatest amount of gold. And it also has this ability called magic resistance, where it has advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. So it's a very powerful physical build and also a spellcaster of sorts. But here are his actions. It has 2 multi-attacks with his claws, +9 to hit, reach 5, does 14 damage on a hit, +14 necrotic damage, and regains hit points equal to half the amount of necrotic damage dealt if the target is a creature. And it also has Storm of Crows, where it basically conjures a swarm of spectral crows in a 20-foot sphere centered around a point it can see within 120 feet, so 120 feet is its range, and it remains for 1 minute or until the Overlord loses concentration, as if it's concentrating on the spell. And if you enter to it, you have to make a DC 15 saving throw or take 16 points of damage. So it's basically a more physical build, but it has a little bit of spell casting. The Storm of Crows is kind of like its special ability. So that's going to be interesting to kind of put into the build. It's definitely an interesting type of build with the crows and whatnot. I feel like it really gives you kind of that like Gish feel. You know, you have certain spells, you have certain things that don't really do damage, but it's control, you know, like the Storm of Crows. And you've also have the multi-attack, so you're pretty good. And with the spells that you have, you're not really afraid to go into the front line. Sometimes you don't want to remain there, but you're definitely not going to really regret going in the front line. So let's go ahead and pop into D&D Beyond in order to get our build going. I'm really focused on worrying the stats about now because you have to make sure that those are even to reflect the stat sheet. So you can just see me tacking off all of my sources, uploading the picture, and for my race I chose Aarakocra. You could do variant tiefling, but I did that so you can get the claws, or basically the talons. Yeah, so for my race I did a 15 in strength, 14 in dex, 13 in con, 9 + 1 in intelligence, 8 + 2 in wisdom, and 13 in charisma. So my skills aren't really that bad. I put my plus for my race in intelligence and wisdom, the +1 and the +2 respectively. So that's what I'll recommend. For my background, you can choose whatever you want as long as you get the persuasion and deception proficiency skills, and I just chose deep speech for my language. So pretty good solid build so far. You can already see that I'm starting to kind of tack off that list of skills that I need. So for my classes, I decided to start off with Warlock just to kind of get that kind of fiend ability going. For proficiency, I chose Intimidation and Investigation. Intimidation is the more important one. And then for my otherworldly patron, I chose the Hexblade, though I feel like the Fiend could work better. But for pack magic, the patron gives you certain spells. If you need the spells, just pause the video. I have links in the description for all the spells that I use. That's just giving you the expanded spell list that you have. And yeah, like I said, just pause the video. And for Hexblade, you get Hexblade's Curse, where basically once every short rest, you can basically curse a target, and then you get bonus damages to the rolls that equal to your proficiency and other things like that. So it's pretty good. For our cantrips and our first level spells, I chose Blade Ward, Chill Touch, Hellish Rebuke, and Hex. I'll have those in the description box below so you can get a better read on those. For our Eldritch Invocations at level 2, we get Devil's Sight and Eldritch Mind. Those are the two ones I chose. The Devil's Sight gives us dark vision of 120 feet, and then the Eldritch Mind gives us advantage on our Constitution. Pact Boon at level 3, you get Pact of the Blade. Basically, you can create a packed weapon in your hand when it takes the form of a martial weapon that you know. So, not really in character, but that's a good thing you can do. You can do it every bonus action, I believe. 4th level Warlocks get an ability to learn Improvement or a feat, and I chose to go ahead and bump our Strength and Charisma. And then for our spells that we learned, I went ahead and went for Eldritch Blast for the cantrip, Wrathful Smite, Crown of Madness, and Mirror Image. I'm just kind of getting that whole kind of devilish, fiendish kind of vibe to the build, kind of like that scary type deal. Since it seems kind of like something like that, I'm just going for that vibe of the build. Level 5, you get another Eldritch Invocation. Go for Thirsting Blade. So when you summon or you make an attack with that packed weapon, you can it's basically like an extra attack. And then for our spell, I chose Summoned Fae, which summons those creatures, so we can kind of start getting that summoning going on. So let's go ahead and pop into the character sheet for our level 5. As you can see, obviously we have advantage on our con saves because of Eldritch Mind. We have 120 feet of dark vision. Our armor class is 12, but we have a flying speed, so we can basically stab everyone's away. We have Eldritch Blast, which is really, really good. I believe you can have 2 of those per round, so that's going to be good. You can fly in, obviously, use your talents to attack. You have our Hex for bonus action. Wrathful Smite, you can use those on your claws, since those are natural weapons. And so, yeah, your kind of game plan is to kind of hang in the back and Eldritch Blast or hang in the sky. And if you want to jump in, you can kind of slash. So let's go back in. Let's go back into the build at level 6. We are going to get a Cursed Spectre, where you can, if you basically kill somebody, you can basically, or kill a humanoid, you can call the spirit to rise from the corpse, and you got a lot of cool features on that. The description will be on the screen. For 7th level, we get another Eldritch Invocation. I get Repelling Blast, which adds your Charisma modifier to your Eldritch Blast ability, so that's going to be able to help you a lot with the damage. For our spell, I chose Summon Aberation, getting more of that summoning in, and I chose Misty Step as well for some movement on your bonus action. So consider that. And then 8th level Warlocks get another ability score improvement. I went ahead for Strength to bump that up so we can get better dividends for our physical attacks. And then I'm going to go ahead and multi-class into Bard right now. First level Bards get a bunch of proficiencies, but we only get one since we're multi-classing into it, so I went for Perception, which is a very good spell to have. Always go for Perception if you don't know what to do, or if you're like in a campaign that kind of needs it. So for our cantrips, I chose Dancing Lights, Light, Animal Friendship, Bane, Cure Wounds, and Dissonant Whispers. A lot of buffing and debuffing, but the Cure Wounds is going to be really important because you can heal with that. And then obviously for a Bard, we get Bardic Inspiration, basically where you get a die that you can use to basically inspire one of your peers, and then they can add that roll to like a spell check or attack roll or saving throw, things like that. Very, very good. You also get Song of Rest, which basically during a long rest or short rest, you can play a song, and then they can heal for a certain amount of points, so it's going to be pretty good. For our spells for this level, I chose Longstrider, which basically boosts your movement. And that's going to be good. As you can see right now, since we dipped into Bard, we have advantage on all of our skills, or we have half advantage on the skills that we didn't choose, which is going to be really, really good. for all those kind of in the cut checks that you don't know about. We've gained a lot of magical damage because of our Chill Touch, Cantrip, our Dancing Lights, Create Bonfire, things like that. We've got Hex always. You can smite your claws, you can kind of hang back and blast with your Eldritch Smite, and you have Bardic Inspiration that you can help your party, and we'll be able to help ourselves in a minute. So, at our level 10, we have lots of options. We can even debuff things with Bane, keep damage off with Hellish Rebuke, Crown of Madness, kind of control the crowd, Misty Step, Summon Fae. We have a lot of things we have. So you have options here. Basically playing Keep Away is the name of this build at level 10. So popping back into D&D Beyond, third level bards can choose our archetype. I chose College of Swords, and then for our expertise we get Intimidation and Perception. But let's talk a little bit more about College of Swords. Basically what you could do is once per turn you have certain maneuvers you can make, kind of like a fighter. They're called blade flourishes, and you can choose one of three. There's a defensive flourish, a slashing flourish, and a mobile flourish. Defense, you can add a roll of your inspiration die to your AC. Slashing, you can add it to your attack roll, and mobile, you can move, I think depending on the die. So that's going to be good. Fourth level bards get ability score improvement. I chose double the charisma so that we can get better saves for our spells. And then for this level spell, I chose Crown of Daggers and Hold Person. Crown of Daggers basically puts daggers in an area and they just kind of swim around each other, and if you walk in there you take damage. And then Hold Person is great because it holds your enemy and keeps them paralyzed, so that's going to be good. We get Fonts of Inspiration, where we can gain back uses of our inspiration die when we finish a rest of any kind, which is going to be good. And then for this level spells, I chose Dispel Magic and Fear. Fear for control, and Dispel Magic so you can kind of get rid of spells that might be affecting you or your party. And then we get Counter Charm. It's not really in character, so you don't have to worry about that. And then we get Extra Attack, where you can attack twice per round instead of once, which is going to be really good for your claws. 7th level bards get another spell slot, 4th level spell slot, and for this I chose Dimension Door just to be able to kind of get more movement options because you can teleport up to 500 feet. Yeah, that's gonna be good. So when we check back here at level 15, you can see that our overall fighting hasn't really changed that much. You're still playing Keep Away, but you've got more options. You can hang back and blast, and you can summon more things. You also have Cloud of Daggers, which you can act as control, kind of put that in there, and then blast people with Eldritch Blast. Obviously, you have the Blade Flourishes, which do work on your natural weapons because it only specifies a weapon attack, and your natural claws are weapons attack. So I think that's pretty good synergy. That's really interesting. And obviously, you have Hexblade's Curse that you can use whenever you want. And when it comes to spells, you have a lot of good damaging cantrips and a lot of buffing and debuffing spells too. So our options are really increasing. That's the one thing that you need to take away. We're still frail. We're at level 15 with a 12 AC and 93 hit points. So you don't want to be up front. You basically want to be in the sky and kind of controlling the enemy from the air and playing Keep Away like we talked about level 10. So let's go ahead and pop back in for the last 5 levels of the build. 8 level bards get an ability score improvement or a feat. I went ahead and capped off my strength so we can get the most payback for our natural weapons, so that's gonna be good. It's gonna be really good. And for this level spell, I actually don't think I chose anything for this level spell. Yeah, no, I didn't. So yeah, all we get is the capped off strength modifier, which is going to be really, really good, even though it's kind of a little late in the game. But yeah, it's still worthwhile to have. For this level spell, level 9 Bard, I chose Hold Monster, which is basically Hold Person, except it doesn't have the humanoid restriction. So as long as something doesn't make your charisma saving throw DC, you're basically got it. So level 10, we get Expertise. I chose Deception and Investigation just to kind of put it more in character, and those are going to be kind of good. Now, Magical Secrets is something that Bard gets, where you can basically learn any spell from any list. So I went for Conjure Animals to get the crows that the character sheet was talking about, and I went for Confusion as well, which is basically what you do with Confusion is you make them roll a die, and then they have to take actions depending on the die. So that's going to be good. We'll talk about that more in a second. 11 level bards get another spell slot. I chose Otto's Irresistible Dance, just to kind of get more of that control, being able to control your enemy. And then for our capstone, level 12 and bard, total level 20, I chose one last ability score improve. Actually, no, I chose a feat, and I chose the tough feat. So basically, get that one more kind of bump to our health. So you can see that helped a lot, because even though we're at a 12 AC, we have 163 hit points. So if we're out of range, then they're going to have a kind of a tough time hitting us, which is going to be really good. And yeah, that's going to be it. So the thing I like about this build is the fact that you kind of have movement options as well as a lot of options to attack. You're not going to really want to be in front of your enemies, but if you are, you have the flourishes that kind of help you out if you want to move away, or if you want to get that little extra damage. You have lots of spells, hold person, hold monster, so you can basically make all of your attacks a crit. You have things like Eldritch Blast, which is a really good thing. It can hit 4 times at level 20, which is really good. You have lots of control options, summoning options, and things like that, where you can basically control your enemy, which is going to be good. You also have this kind of options. Your skills are really good. I know you only had like a few skills that were mentioned inside of the actual character sheet or the stat block for the Overlord, but you have lots of other skills that you can use at your disposal. So definitely that's going to be a good thing to keep in mind. And also, you have one other thing I wanted to really talk about. Is kind of a spell we took. At first we have Blade Word. Not really it's not a defensive spell. What it does is that it basically makes it so that for that turn you basically have advantage, or you're resistant to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, which I think is going to be a good spell, particularly because of the fact that you don't necessarily always have to be doing the fighting up front, you know, because you have so many of these summoning spells, Cloud of Daggers, you know, what's that other one called? Summon Fae, Conjure Animals, things like that, where you could just basically summon things, summon Aberation to basically make those do the fighting for you and do the damage that you need while you basically stay back and stay safe. And I think with Cloud of Daggers, you can oh well, no, you can't move it. I thought you could move it, but you don't have to do that. Oh, that's another thing too. Movement's good because you have a 60-foot flying speed, 30-foot walking speed, which is kind of average, but you also have like Misty Step, a very good bonus action spell that you can use to just pop 30 feet. Dimension Door if you really need to move somewhere quick. And you have good range too, like we mentioned. Eldritch Blast has a range of 120 feet, and it's a cantrip too. We also have Chill Touched, which is a good cantrip. So you have options with this build, and that's one thing that I really like about the build. You have a lot of options for it, which I think is really good. So that's going to be the Abhorrent Overlord. Overall, I think it's a really good build to make, and I think it's a really good build to actually bring to the table, because not only is it fun, but it has a lot of good usage too. So yeah, that's going to be the build.